Mhm, mhm.
Here we are on another episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, episode 81, coming to you live right here exclusively in the Trash Talk Business Podcast VIP group. I'm Andy Weins. He is Casey Bubba Lawrence. Casey, what are we talking about this week?
Man, today we have a great guest. His name's Tim Miller. He's a local DFW. He specializes in, Google business profiles, chatbots, and social media stuff. I actually used him a few years ago for my junk removal business and helping me hire the right people that I actually wanted to hire. So pretty excited about this one. Tim, thanks for being here, by the way.
You bet.
So let's talk, Tim. What is your background? How did you get here today?
So let me see. I'm a 20-year Navy photojournalist veteran. Just got out a couple of years ago with 20 years as a photojournalist. Been around the world, did some cool stuff. Hung out of helicopters off the edges of ships and been in the drink many times. Rode boats with SEALs. That was a lot of fun. Actually, the SEALs were a lot of fun because I was like the running joke of them. Because I'm not like their type, the opposite. So yeah, I mean, it's like
I'm the things,
yeah. I'm a right-brained, emotional kind of guy, and being a bunch of critical thinker alpha males it was quite a trip. But
were you out on mission with them, or were you taking pictures of them?
Yeah, so no, that was actually, it was a year. I was deployed for a year. Really, I was in mostly Virginia Beach, just hanging out with them, working for a public affairs office. And so my job was to help keep bad information out and push good information out and tell stories about the SEALs that made them look awesome. So it was actually a pretty fun job, pretty easy job. Did a lot of cool stuff.
All right. And you join the Navy with the expectations of being a photojournalist, or they just assign you that?
Okay, well, so going back, I actually in the 80s I joined the Navy Reserve, and as a what they call a fire control technician. So press buttons, make things go boom. And but I did that in the reserve for about 5 years, and then I got out. And then I had a friend of mine talk me back in about 15 years later, after I had already been in the video and film and video industry for a long time. And so I came back in as a photojournalist. The official term is called mass communication specialist. So basically writing stories, taking photos, and shooting video, just highlighting Navy stuff. But when I came back in, it was when I was in the 80s, it was the reserve is a very weekend warrior mentality. Coming back in, I think I came back in 2007, totally the opposite. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but the massive percentage of the people who are deployed were reservists. So it was really cool. Yeah. I tell you what, I actually felt really good because I felt like what I did was providing a value to the Navy. I would go out on missions for like a week or 2 weeks, and I'd do a bunch of them. So I probably did 6, 7 of them a year. And I would just go out to different countries to help people with different operations, help cover the stories. And the cool thing about that is that even though it was expensive to send me out there, it was more of an expense to pull somebody out of a working command and put them in that situation. So, but yeah, I've been all over the world, Vietnam, Dubai, just all over.
And you were reserve the whole time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Couple times for a couple times a year at a time. I was deployed and I was active, but had a pretty cool time. I dug it. I had a really, really cool career in the Navy.
Okay. So you were running a video production company the whole time, or marketing? How'd you get where we're at today?
Yeah. So where we're at today, I've been doing film and video pretty much my whole adult life. And I started in the 90s just coiling wire for people, interning for free. You can't do that anymore. But like literally asking somebody, hey, what is this? Or what do you do with it? And so I learned, I cut my teeth in that industry, and it was really cool. And so I had the opportunity to work for a couple of different companies in the 90s and early 2000s. And then I left that corporate environment and just started doing my own thing, probably in the mid 2000s. And so since that time, I've been doing film and video, but I've been noticing a dovetail into marketing in general. And, and that leads us to today, where a lot of what I do is marketing, but a lot of what I encourage other people to do, and I teach other people how to do, is using video as a catalyst for all their content marketing. So it's a really, really great tool, and it's not that hard. 10 years ago, it was pretty hard to do video, and now anybody can do it, but still people don't do it. And then moving that dovetailed into just getting clients for people, getting more visibility, all that kind of stuff. So I started learning what I call the digital footprint, helping people out, getting their digital footprint squared away. And a lot of that stems from, your Google business profile and how Google interacts with everything really, but mainly your site and all your socials and all that kind of stuff. So it's Google is pretty, they're taking over the world, but they're pretty important if you own a business.
So Tim, let me just give you a little preface of Andy here. Andy loves KPIs. All right. He loves data.
Huge fan.
Okay. So one thing, and I'm not trying to step on you here, but at some point in this conversation, I really want you to dive into the data collection that you see doing what you do with Google and with these small businesses, by the way, and the importance of it all.
You bet.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because, I want to hear more about utilizing video. So we obviously utilize video here with the Trash Talk Business Podcast. I use video with Experience Andy Weins Live, where I talk about my book. And I was in Vegas last week. I can't remember now. 2 weeks ago, I was in Vegas shooting podcasts and videos for Jobber. Shout out Jobber.
Cool.
I talk to Jobber, it's because they let me. And they tell me and they pay me, so now the FCC can stay off of me. That box. I got my Jobber. I got a Jobber Yeti. Like, I have been drinking more water since I don't know how the cameras work. Nice. And I love video. We had a full-time videographer on our staff for about 3 years, and then I had a videography business for about a year and a half.
Wow!
And I love it, and I love creating content for our company. And you're right that you don't need this huge production. You can shoot a lot of what you need on your phone. The question is, what's going to resonate, what's going to matter. So that's what I'm more interested in. So, this give an idea of our listenership here. A lot of our listeners are mom and pop or 2-3 truck operations. Most of the biggest challenge our listeners have is, how do I get out of the truck? How do I become more of a business owner and less of a business operator? And our episodes that do the best are the ones that are about marketing and sales. Most people operationally can figure some things out within their business, and it's very niche. However, there are some general principles in marketing and sales, or things to consider in marketing and sales, that we can discuss here. So love to hear the KPIs perspective that Casey talked about, and also more of, maybe it's best practices, or what do you see people doing right or wrong in video? All of the above is interesting to our viewership.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, so I'll tell you what. Let's talk about KPIs, and I'll use I have one of my clients who's a friend of mine. He owns a plumbing business, just a solopreneur. I think he has his kids work for him every once in a while. But he called me up a couple of years ago, and actually, it was 2020, right before 2020, and he was having a rough time getting clients. And what we did was we looked at his Google business profile, and he had a bunch of things that really needed some TLC. One of the things, I'll tell you, 3 things. If you're talking about KPIs, the 3 most important things in your Google business profile, this is for anybody. And this is data. So the 3 most important things, at least right now in 2023, the very first thing is the name of your business. So if the name of your business has a keyword in it or multiple keywords in it, that's awesome. But don't do what we call keyword stuffing. If like, for instance, if you have a chiropractic shop and it's in Denton and you're the only place you don't have any other franchises, you can call it Tim's Chiropractic Office in Denton, Texas. That's cool. But you don't want to go overboard with that. So the name, that's the number one thing. The second thing is a category. A lot of people miss this, or they'll put multiple categories in. You can have, I think, I don't know how many, you can have multiple categories, but you want to make sure that you choose the best category that represents you the most. I'm pretty sure for junk hauling, there's only a couple, but like, for instance, real estate, you could have real estate investor, realtor, real estate, or real estate agency. And so those are really important, because you want to think how your end user is going to think. How are they going to find you? So the category is the second most important thing. And the third most important thing, which has a bunch of little side shoots, is reviews. So there's quantity of reviews, relevancy of reviews, and obviously the star of the review, how high it is. And so those are the three most important things. So what I did with this plumber is he had, like, I think 15 reviews. And I've got a really cool piece of software that does some automation, but you don't have to use automation. You can do it on your own. What I did was, the first thing we did is I asked him, I said, hey, send me your list of your people. And he literally had no idea what to do. And I said, you know what, just give me access to your QuickBooks account. So I went into his QuickBooks account, exported his list. I think we had like 900 people throughout the life of his business, maybe more. And so I took all those 900 people, I scrubbed the list, because I don't want to send texts to people who don't want to be messaged. And then I scrub it also against the National Do Not Disturb Registry. So I can't remember the numbers, but I pared it down to a good sizable number. And then what we did was we did an email, an SMS review campaign. We basically sent them one text out that said, hey, it's Cliff at Morgan Leak Detection. We've done business with you in the past. Would you mind giving us a review? It'll really help our business. And you'd be surprised at how many people will click the link. And then you can have the link in there. To get your Google review link is pretty easy, and I can talk about that in a second. But that's a pretty cool thing. And so what we did was we did that over a course of, I think, 2 months, because there's only 900 people. And so there's three things about Google, the three things that Google likes. And this is just my own interpretation. So there's probably other ideas. Three things are relevancy, consistency, and recency. Consistency and recency are kind of hand in hand. But when I did the Google review campaign, we didn't want to just do a massive campaign over a weekend and send it out to all 900 people, because that's not consistent, right? So we want consistency over a long period of time, because you're going to be rewarded by the Google gods, for lack of better terms. The algorithm, all that kind of stuff, it picks it up better. So we got him over, I think, a month and a half. I think we got him about over 150 total reviews. And now that's odd, because that doesn't always happen. That's a pretty good review. I think we had a total of maybe, and I'm messing up the numbers, probably had maybe 600 messages that we sent out. So we had 100 return. And that's really, really good ROI for that. And so that doesn't always happen. Usually it's about 10% return on something like that. But here's the cool part. Those people, a lot of them were older, and he hadn't done business with them for a while. And so he had repeat business coming back. And I had set him up on some autoresponders. When somebody pings him, I will sometimes get a message, because he wasn't that tech savvy. So I'll get a message, and I'll reach out to him every once in a while saying, hey, just touching base, you're getting these messages, right? And he'd never responded to me. So I actually called him up, and I said, dude, are you okay? What's going on? He said, man, I can't talk to you. I am so busy. All these people that I haven't done business with in years have all this stuff. And these are, small jobs to big jobs. A small job for a plumber is like $500, right? Big job is $2,000-$3,000. And so that is really, really cool. And so what we've been doing is we have incorporated, now I have to do it for him because he's not a tech guy, but a lot of your guys can definitely do this on their own. But I've incorporated a system where I reach out to him every week and I say, hey, give me your new people, or give me a delta of who you're doing business with. And I'll reach out to those people and just offer him a review campaign. So that in and of itself boosted everything. And you can go and look in his rankings, and he ranks a whole lot better than he used to. And so, reviews are definitely the bomb. So,
the bomb.
Yeah.
So I'll plug Jobber here because that's what they pay me for, and I love it. So yeah, you're so my hillbilly math. I recently did this. The numbers were different. Basically 10x. I took 9,000 previous customers, ripped it down, did exactly what you said. Do not disturb list, and make sure the email is not going to bounce back list. And by me, I mean my marketing company, and end up with about 5,800. So let's say your 900 turned into 600, right? 700, because I'm a math guy, right? Let's say 750 on a high end, right? You maybe got rid of 150 bad emails, right? And you went from 15 to 150, which is I tell people you get 20 to 25% of your customers will review you. 1/3, if when you're cranking, you can get 33% review rate. I don't know what the actual I would love to hear what you think the number is. Me, historically, when I look at our jobs to reviews, when we're north of 20, we're doing our job. When we're south of 20, we're not. Mm-hmm. When we're cranking, we're at 30. Consider automations. Yeah, Facebook user just consider automations with nice job. That is what I was getting to. See, that guy already knows. They already know. Yeah. They already know where the bit goes, right?
That's bit Justin.
Is that was Justin. Was that Justin Waltz?
Yeah, he doesn't want to give StreamYard his access to show his name, I guess.
No, that's right. Actually, teaser. Look at this. Look at us doing businessy stuff. Teaser announced here right now. Justin Waltz, world famous junk removal protege guy that people know. He's driving. There we go. Smiley face. Nice. He next week will not be creeping on the chat because he will be joining us in studio at 1600 Central. The famous Justin Waltz. It took us a while to track him down. We had to call him out. Actually, the guy, every time I talk to him, he's got 19 things going, and they're all amazing. So we're going to talk about some amazing stuff he's doing next week. So anyways, there we go.
Nice.
Going back to what I was saying, this is where we talk about things that we typically don't do, right? This fits the bit. We either need to eliminate them, stop talking about it because you ain't fucking doing it anyways. Stop letting it, occupy space in your brain. So we need to stop them, right? Or we need to eliminate, we need to delegate, or we need to automate. So Tim's case, right? You delegate it. Plumber who can turn wrenches. My father, 30 years, he's been putting indoors. His calendar never stops. He is always booked up. Does not have an email address. Doesn't have a website. You can't even leave a voicemail for him because his voicemail is full, and he doesn't know how to text. Right? So I know that guy, right, Tim? When you're like, hey, you probably can do it. Now me, I'm 39. I'm a whatever you want to say, generation wise. I love technology, and yet I'm not that interested in it, right? I love it, what it can do. So I see the power of it, and yet I let smart people do things, right? So I'm an automate kind of guy. I either delegate to my marketing company or a guy like Tim, or I automate it where I'm like, how does the thing do the stuff? Cool, press the buttons. So what I have is Jobber integrated with Nice Job, sends out an email the day of, 3 days later, and 7 days later, looks for the review and can track whether or not they use the Nice Job link or they go on your Google. So once they give you a review, it automatically takes them out of the queue. So that's what I love. When we did that, we went from about a 10% review rate to 24, 25% within 90 days. And so we've hovered right around 20 to 25. We know when our guys are asking and pushing, we can get up to that 30, 33%. Because there's a lot of people that will not do it. They're not comfortable with it. They don't care. Whatever. And God bless, right? So I love what you're talking about there, right? Delegate and then automate. And as we're talking numbers, what have you seen in your experience? What is the typical? You said it was very. I mean, he 10x'd his reviews in 90 days, right? So there was a lot of low hanging fruit, right? And on top of it, got a bunch of work booked. Right, sales solves all most times, right? Not always, right? When your operations are in place, sales solves all. Sounds like his operations weren't in place,
Right.
And a one-man truck, it's not feasible, right? You don't have the you can't like you said, if you send a blast of whatever 600-700 text messages or emails all at once, he'd have been buried for a month versus do it over a 6-week period, 100 messages a week. Even if 10% convert, that's 10 new customers, 10 new jobs a week. That's a heavy lift for a plumber, considering they have to bid the work, buy the product, install it. I don't know a plumber that's ever gone to a job and left
I do have a
the
question
same day
about that
randomly. All right, go ahead, Casey. I'm just rambling now.
No, so this is probably a good question, but how important, Tim, is your website in all of this? Because I'm guessing this all drives right to your website. So if you have a subpar website, that could be a pretty big problem.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. So, so the first thing that you need to do in your Google business profile is there's a little spot that should have a little green circle, right? That's going to say how filled out your profile is, how complete your profile is. You want to make sure that is complete. By complete, all the basics, and you guys should all do this. I mean, if you own a business, just, I call this digital plumbing. You should just do it anyways. Meaning make sure your website's there, all your credentials are there. But there are a few little, there are a bunch of additive things that you should be doing all the time inside your Google business profile that help. Like one of the things I said was consistency and recency. So, and I'll get your question in a second because it dovetails with what I'm about to say. But for instance, there are, and a lot of things are additive. Like when I say additive, meaning, they're helpful, they're foundational. Like for instance, FAQs. Google Business has an FAQ section. Here's the cool thing about it. Nobody uses it. And here's the other cool thing about it. When you do use it, you're putting yourself at a competitive advantage. And then thirdly, anybody in the world with a Google account can ask a question and anybody can answer a question. That means anybody. So like you can ask a question, do they have good steak? Well, somebody else can say, you know what, I was in there yesterday and it was awful. So wouldn't you want to circumvent that and answer all the questions people are asking anyways? Like, do you guys take care of tires? I've got a giant tractor tire. Can you take care of that? Well, go ahead and answer that because anyways, I'm getting off my high horse. So
can you generate the, hold on. Can you generate the questions? And
yes,
could I just sit there for an hour and just bang out a bunch of questions?
You can, but that kind of goes against the recency, consistency thing, right? Remember, Google wants everything consistent.
Consistency over time. Consistency. Yeah. I'm an ops guy. So see, Casey and I, we're Army. Right, Navy, you guys take your sweet ass time. You take your pictures, you upload them. We're C-ball, hit ball, right? Right, you pull the trigger. If Fast Friday don't fall, you pull it again. You keep pulling the trigger until the thing goes away, and then you find something else to shoot. So that's good. We're eventually going to get to the Navy jokes. I mean, let's be honest. It's been 25 minutes. We haven't even mentioned Navy jokes yet.
So, yeah. Well, let me just tell you. What did I? Yeah, I don't want to get into Navy jokes right away. So, by the way, I am heterosexual. Just letting you know. So, and I made a Navy career out of it. I don't know. So, anyways, I digress.
Hold on.
Let's just get that out of the way immediately.
Also, for anybody that's no one's ever accused us of this, but it's always been in the back of my mind that if people are like, I wonder how much Andy and Casey like cut out in post, right? It's like, no, you guys get right. Yes. Like if you for our listeners that listen to full episodes, like you get the whole thing, right? The snidbits, but for the most part, this is completely unedited. Unless even if we do say something that's completely egregious, the next episode will be like, yeah, remember I said that? Yeah, that was totally wrong. Like we'll get to errors and omissions eventually. All right. So what we covered there, Tim, full career in the Navy, still in the chicks. So good job.
Oh, so when I came back in the Navy, right? The first job I had was shooting a video with this admiral, and I had to mic the guy up, right? When we mic people up, we got to rip their shirts off and everything. And this guy was getting a little,
Yeah.
he was just feeling uncomfortable. So I got up real close to him and I said, "Sir," as I'm messing with his mic, "just want to let you know, I'm a married man." And he kind of chuckled, you know, and then I got really, really close and I said, "To a woman."
Yeah.
So thought that was, I don't know if he could pull that off anymore though. So
$20 is $20 these days.
oh my gosh.
No. I can tell you, being in the Army, you can't. So there you go. There's
yeah.
No.
So anyways, well, we were
Took the
talking
fun
about
out of the job.
yeah, here's what I would do with all those FAQs. I would just make yourself a Google Doc and ask every single question people ask you and just keep it, you know, and then just copy and paste, you know, every day or every week, whatever that is, you know, whatever that consistency is. It could be every 3 days. You know, I'm sure you guys have heard like there's a with respect to YouTube, you know, you want to upload YouTube videos, whatever that is, once a month, once a year, once a week, whatever that consistency number is that works for you. And the same thing with Google Pictures. The photos are also super important. Oh yeah, you know what? So the reviews. I'm sorry, man. I am a right brain guy, and I'm chasing squirrels all day long. So just let me go. So with reviews, the one thing that is very key with reviews, if your people can shoot a photo and add the photo in the reviews, a lot of times the photos will go to the top. Not always, but many times they do. So, so backing it up, if you ever get a bad review, the 3 things that you can do with a bad review is 1, you can reach out to that person outside of the Google ecosphere and see if they can make it, you can make it right with them. The second thing you can do is you can reach out to other people who have given you reviews in the past and ask them to update their reviews or even update with a photo, because what that does is that pushes those most recent reviews kind of to the top. And, you know, if you ever notice, a lot of times you'll see the first negative review that comes up if you go to some place. So, so that's just a little nugget there if you get a bad review. And then the other thing about reviews, and I'm just going to go on and on, you can cut me off.
Well, Tim, real quick on bad reviews. So when it comes to different places, I look at bad reviews differently, right? So if I'm going to go to a restaurant, obviously I'm going to look and see what the context of the bad review is.
Sure.
I mean, you get people like, "Oh, I waited forever. The food was amazing." Okay, well, I just want to know if the food's good.
Right.
But then you get one that's like, "Oh, the food's made with rubber." Okay, that's probably bad. But what also stands out more to me is the response to the bad review from the entity, whether it be ownership or management. For me, that's a huge deal. I'm not saying it has to be one way or the other, but even responding in general is rare these days.
For sure. Yeah. So, and actually that's the other thing too, is, you know, the 3 things that I talked about: relevancy, super important. So the response to reviews, if you have a system that automates those responses, either do 1 of 2 things: either turn it off and just respond to them manually, or make sure that either it's an AI response that's using appropriately created keywords that does not sound like a robot, or just do it yourself. So either AI or do it yourself. When you do it yourself, you want to use all the keywords. You know, don't go overboard, but your keywords are your city name, name of your business, keywords for, you know, whatever the thing was that people picked up, or if you go into your Google profile, you can see what people are searching for. And a lot of times you want to use those keywords in your responses. And
just because we had a lot of, we were in a franchise, right? So we actually had a couple bad reviews that were for completely different locations, yet it was on our Google profile, right?
Right.
So fighting that was actually, pain in the ass on its own as well. But then having to explain to that review, right? Like, hey, wrong person, idiot. But
yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to.
No, that's a good point, because that'll happen a lot. And the best thing that you can do is just go over the top, sappy, hey, man, we're all about this, repeat your mission statement, all that kind of stuff. And just make sure that, again, even in the bad reviews, what I've seen restaurants do is in bad reviews, they've actually said, hey, you know what? We'll give you a $20 discount. Come on back. We'll give you to give us another try. And, which is great. It's a great response. You could do the same thing, just with a different twist with respect to your business. But yeah, over the top, sappy, friendly, because if those negative reviews are going up to the top, people are looking at them, right? And if there's no response, silence is definitely not what you want. And so, but you can still maintain a good credibility by responding appropriately with your relevant keywords. So yeah, reviews are pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
I need some questions on this Facebook. I thought Taylor was going to have a rocking question. So Taylor usually has some pretty good questions.
That's right. I already
Google.
So I already heard about the bad reviews. I thought it was what two things I've put down in my notes here. I got a running note tab here. Google FAQs. I'm going to get on that right away, and then also photos with reviews. I didn't put those two things together. Right, we get photos and we upload photos often. However, getting the customers to upload photos of us, and that's one of the challenges we have in our industry. At least for our business, is our guys go out there and kick ass.
Right.
They do an amazing job. I had a customer I talked to earlier today because I was running out for a little bit, and she's like, "Oh, they could not have been better." So right now I'm looking our Google My Business page, 827 Google reviews, 5-star perfect rating. Like,
nice.
Yeah, there's a couple 4s and one or two 2s in there, right? And so we're doing a lot right, and yet I'm always thinking, what are we missing? Right? Like I'm one that I don't want to focus on what we're doing right. Like that's what we're supposed to do. Right. Like Chris Rock does that bit. You're supposed to pay your bills. You don't get a reward for that. It is the what, right? Shout out Chris Rock real quick. Yesterday, I was watching a movie with my daughter. It wasn't a very good movie. It was one of those like AI bots are going to take over the world movies, which there's like 3 of them that I can think of. They're all based on the same movie. And my daughter at one point goes, "Hey, that's the zebra from Madagascar." So, and I go, "That's Chris Rock."
Nice.
She goes, "I don't know his name." I go, yeah, it's Chris Rock. And Chris Rock was the dog in this movie, and he was swearing in a kid's movie, and it was like bleeped out. And I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea. She's 9. You have no idea how good Chris Rock is. And the fact we don't get more Chris Rock, travesty, right? Like, yeah, that's it. Chris Rock, he doesn't have to work, and yet I wish he did. I saw Bill Burr last week stand up. Good show. I would rather see Chris Rock, and I love Bill Burr. I'm seeing Brett Kirshner coming up here in a couple weeks. I would still go see Bill Burr. I would still go see Chris Rock. Chappelle is in town this week here in Milwaukee. I'm not going because I have my daughter. Chris Rock is in town. Maybe I go. Certainly, I do not take my daughter because I don't think he's gonna be doing bits from Madagascar. Anyways, side note on Chris Rock. I get excited. I don't know how I even get. Oh, because you're supposed to do that. It's one of the best bits ever. It's what you're supposed to do. Anyways, all right. So FAQs, pictures with that's going to be a tough one, and tough in a good way. Get customers to take pictures with us and put it in a Google review.
Here's what I might suggest on that one. So there's a couple of different avenues. I've got some other clients that they do. I got a chiropractic office in Denton. They actually have internally. He buys them all dinner after they get I think 20 reviews. Every 20 reviews, buys everybody dinner, which is cool. So that's the reviews become a cultural thing internally. So that's a really cool mentality. But what I've seen is reviews, just like anything else, when you have the face-to-face and you give somebody a card, I might even have a card with a QR code on it and give it to somebody and say, look, would you mind scanning this right after we leave and giving us a review? Something about the tactile thing when you give somebody something. And on top of that, there's the law of reciprocity, right? I give you something, even though it's my card, I'm kind of compelled to do something for you. And so that personal touch will kind of help, cars are what, $100.
So I actually saw that at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it to Andy. I don't know if you remember this, about 2 months ago. And on the card is a QR code. then it also has your waitress or waiter's name on it.
Mm.
And you get to grade the actual waiter or waitress, not just the establishment, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm sure they have their own incentive plans, right? So I used to do that with my workers. They'd have a postcard. If they got a personal review, that's $5 each personalized review. If there's just a general review, it's $1 per review because I knew what team was doing what. The QR code, I think, adds obviously a huge advantage. But yeah, I think you can use that not just for the business aspect, but for your employees as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Actually, I mean, when where was I? I went to one of those a VR place where you go and, battle demons and stuff. And one of the operators there basically said, look, you know what? If you have a great review, my name's Tim. If you leave a bad review, my name's Biff. And so, but yeah. So, and actually the humor, that's another thing too. That's a brain center trigger. Anytime you can make something funny, people remember it more. But anyways, so the immediacy factor, the tactile thing, super important when the reviews happen. And then after that, you can have some kind of automation in place that kind of dovetails or, reinforces the whole review nature.
All right, you use the term dovetail 37 times now. Can you explain the origin and why
I'm putting that in my vocabulary, by the way.
Yeah, Casey already put in our chat, was like, internal chat was like, I'm going to incorporate dovetail. Can you explain to me? I think I know what a dovetail is when it comes to furniture.
Like a
I
truck.
don't know if I know what a dovetail. Right? I don't know that I know what a dovetail is when it comes to the way that you're saying.
Okay,
it.
this is out of the scope of my my personal belief, and I'm gonna bow out gracefully. No, I'm just kidding. Just dovetails. I'm just messing with y'all. All right, so you know what? From this point forward, I'm not going to use that term anymore. I'm through.
No, I want to know. No. I want to know. Does it mean keeps it together? Because
a
dovetail in furniture. So here, for the people watching, a dovetail is two dovetails on furniture, right? Wood, and it comes together like this, right? Like this, not like because then you'll have another one and another one, right? So you have these two dovetails that come together, and now they're strong, right? Because equal pressure both ways. You put a little glue, and from a very tactical junk removal perspective, when you look at furniture, basically there's 3 grades of furniture. If it's particle board nailed to it like this, it's shit lumber. If it's real lumber nailed to like this, it's decent. And when and I'm talking about the drawers here, every dresser just pull out a drawer. And when it's dovetailed, you got something there, right? That's it. No, not that, Casey. That's not a dovetail. What Casey did was because you got to have it's the V. It's the the V because This is I don't know what this is.
It literally looks like a dove's tail. So
the Navy thing.
To be fair, doesn't every bird have a tail that looks like that? I mean, what are we doing here?
The doves kind of got that fan thing going on,
That's true.
So
the other thing was digital plumbing that got me going. I love it.
That's a good one. Yeah, digital plumbing. I tell you what, that goes back a couple of years. So that's pretty much. If you're a business and you don't have, you need to reach your audience where they are, right? Mm-hmm. If your audience is not on LinkedIn, then you don't need to be on LinkedIn. But even if you're not, you still need to have all of those aspects ready to go if you're going to do any advertising or if you're just going to post. So for instance, like, the whole the Google thing, that is super important. And then on top of that, when you dovetail the Google business profile with your website, right? Because both of them need to be in place to create a big picture thing. It works really well together. If you're doing things that are not like, for instance, there's a thing inside your website called meta tags, headers. If your pages are not set up appropriately, Google's just not going to find them. And so one of the things we like to do is to just go and make sure that every page has information. There's a title, header title, and a header description, or page title, page description. Those are easy to do. And I'll tell you what, if I'll put together a one sheet on that. Maybe I can send it out to your people. But it's super easy, especially if you have a WordPress website. Super easy to do, and a lot of people will not do that. They'll just throw up a website, and if you hover over the top of the icon on the tab, it should pop up with all the keywords, the name of your company, the city name, and maybe 2 words of what you do. All right, so that's the title. Your title's super important on those pages. But another cool thing is, and again, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but with respect to your website, in your Google Business Profile, you have services and products. Services are cool. I haven't had a whole lot of use for them. They're great to fill out. I don't see the relevance of how they really make a difference with ranking. But the products do. And so you guys might not think of a product and how it applies to your business, but it does. So I would think of a product like you would a service. So basically, when you fill out a product, you can put the description, the name of it, and then a URL, which is really,
so even something
really
like
cool.
mattress removal.
Totally. If you have a page on your website that has mattress removal on it, which I would do, I would create pages on your website for everything you guys do.
Yeah.
You know, and then I would create a product and link each one of those products to that page. That will help immensely. You know, it's not overnight, but it helps in the big picture. So that's a little nugget that you can use just in general.
Interesting.
Yeah, with the Google Business Profile.
What do you do now? We didn't even get to that. We got to the how you got here now. So you do. Are you doing all these services for companies?
No, I wouldn't touch this stuff, man. No, I'm just kidding. So what I do is I have a couple of different 2 different products, if you will. One is a SaaS product, which is I have a software as a service.
For the record, I went to a convention one time, and it was I can't remember what the convention was. It took me a day and a half to figure out the hell a SaaS was. I'm like, everyone, I probably 3 or 4 seminars, and finally I Googled it. I was like, the fuck's a SaaS? And I was like, oh, software as a service. Something. And I was like, okay, this is that, there's an old Chinese proverb, like, it's better to keep your mouth shut and have people think you're a fool than open it and have them know. That's a terrible fucking proverb. I would rather be dumb today and smart tomorrow than dumb the rest of my life. And I have no problem admitting. So one of the rules that we learned in the military, and I don't, maybe you guys do this in the Navy, you're never allowed to use a acronym or jargon unless you've already explained it, right? Unless it is a generally accepted term, right? Like for example, in the reserves, a TPU, troop program unit, soldier. That means you're a reservist. I didn't know what that was in my first 10 years I was in the Army. Nice. They're like, oh, are you TPU? Yeah, or AGR. Oh, yeah, I'm not AGR, so I'm the other one. I'm TPU. No idea what that meant. None. It wasn't until 12 years and 12, 13, I was a career counselor, and finally I figured out what TPU was. I never looked it up. I never thought it was a thing. I didn't even know what. Anyway, so there you go. So you're not guilty of it.
No, man. My favorite acronym actually is the NAV Sup Serv Sen. This is the Navy Supply Service Center, NAV Sup Serv Sen. And
wow. It's like 3 letters shy of the actual acronym.
I know. Correct. Crazy, right? But now you can also go to the NAV Dick Ab to find out what the vocabulary is for acronyms.
Also, it takes longer to say www than it would to be World Wide Web. There's a stupid acronym for you. World Wide Web, www. Like, you can't go any. Like, W it's so many syllables. It's 3 syllables per W versus World Wide Web. 3 syllables. You want 3 syllables or 9? And yet, what do? www. Dot.
That's fun. Yeah, that's great.
So you have a software as a service business.
So my primarily, and you know what? And I hate that term. It's basically, and I call it SWAS, which is my own term. A lot of guys in the marketing industry will use that term. It's software with a service. So, it like Jobber, Jobber would probably be considered a SaaS. You plug it in, and as a business owner, you're on your own most of the time to figure it out. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my system's kind of similar. I can just hand it over to somebody and give them the keys, and it does cool stuff like a lot of the automation stuff, campaigns, email campaigns, drips, stuff like
Now
that.
let me ask you a question, Tim. How much do you two things? How much do you use chatbots, and how important are they in your everyday business?
So the term chatbot is so in the old days, like 2018, 17, 18, 19, Facebook started opening up their API application. And they basically opened up their chatbot system, their messenger system for other applications to use. And so I did a lot of that in the Facebook realm when it was popular. But it is not as popular as it was before. And a lot of times it's just not as clunky. It's a little clunkier, not as great of a user experience. So what we're seeing now is SMS. SMS is, we don't use chatbots in SMS some people do. There's, AI is just like taking over the freaking world. So a lot of people will have AI generative chat bot systems to do whatever it is they need to do. I'm not on the AI train just yet, but
you got to get on it.
Yeah, and actually, let me rephrase that. I do use AI for a lot of stuff, but I've got a copywriter working on some websites for me right now, and his purpose is to use AI as a catalyst.
For now, his purpose.
And then
soon he will have no purpose.
Yeah, I didn't tell him that.
I need you to build a website that replaces your job. Thanks.
Yeah. But I will say, the three ways that people like to communicate with you, are the three ways that I incorporate on a website. There's a phone number, which is a hot link. If you're on a mobile, you click it, it opens up your dialer. There's a form, and there's a chat widget. So the phone number, I'm a user. I want information now, and I don't want to wait. The form, I'm willing to wait, but I want to give you as much context as possible for you to give me back enough information. And then the chat widget is kind of like me kicking the tires. And a lot of times what we do, the chat widget, it basically goes to the same place as a business owner as the form does to the business owner. But it gives, and then we reply to the customers the same way that they're communicating to us, right? So if I'm in a chat widget and I send something out, just a really quick deal, I have an automated system that says, "Hey, Tim, got your message. It's Casey. I'm with a client right now. Give me about 10 minutes. I'll get back to you." And that's an automation, and it gives you as a business owner the little buffer to get back to them. Still sends the love, "Hey, we're thinking about you."
So it's interesting because most of these listeners, right? Most of our listeners are in the truck, right? And they're either driving on the phone or at a job and have to answer the phone. So they're going to miss calls. They're going to miss some texts maybe. At the same time, this kind of goes into my next question. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and ask it. So you remember when I was kind of just starting out, I was always at the very front of the best content opportunities, right? Because I was greeting the customer. I was doing the actual jobs. I was closing out with the customers, meeting with potential new clients. I was the person that all I had to do was turn my camera on, right? And I could take video, pictures. Once I started getting crews, I could do the same thing. And I know you and I met years and years ago, but I know from then on, you've always stressed the importance of telling the story as you go. And like, for instance, when you're on a job, let's say I'm the junk removal owner, I maybe have another crew, but I'm still in the truck. What small things, simple things can I do on a daily basis? Maybe my budget's not the biggest for marketing right now, but how can I start implementing these key vital marketing aspects into my day-to-day process, right? As the owner.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm not trying to sell what I do, but I white label a software called High Level. If you guys are familiar with it, it's really, really cool. It's a very, very, it's a kick-ass CRM. And that's why I say what I do is SWA, software with a service. I can just give you the keys, but a lot of business owners, that's not their thing. To rather have somebody to help them out and do some stuff for them. So one of the tools that we have is called a missed call text back system. So we have a phone number in our system, and we actually will use that phone number in your Google site as a primary phone number, and also I do it for my clients on their website as a primary number. And what that does is I have that number roll over to the business phone number or the business cell. And if they call that number and it rolls over and it doesn't answer, and we can choose the timeout, how long we wanted that timeout, we have an automation that sends a text back to the user who's calling. Said, "Hey, it's Casey. I'm in a truck right now. I'll answer your question in a minute. Is there something I can help you out with through text right now?" And so you're killing two birds with one stone. You're getting more context, more information from that person if they want, but also you're sending them a little quick message saying, "Hey, we still want to do business with you. We still appreciate you," that sort of thing. So that's one real cool thing. And high level is pretty inexpensive, but there are other applications out that do the same thing. But so think about how much business you lose from a missed call. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Not
just a missed call, but a missed call that didn't get followed up on because
Sure.
the day got away from you. And especially the first, year or two, sometimes that happens. You just get going, and then at the end of the day, you look at your phone like, man, I forgot to call 3 people back.
Right.
Those could potentially change the outcome of your month, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But then that last question was pretty much like, I know you and I talked about Reels, and you talked about how just doing the simple, chop a video up and put it out there, how important it is when you're on the go, but yet you can still do a lot with just little.
Yeah. Well, so that's the other aspect of my business. I have a very large product that is not a very large product. It's very time consuming. It's expensive. But what I do is, and anybody can implement any of these things on their own. It's not difficult. It's just time consuming. But here's what I do. I have a client who I'll interview for 30 minutes a month, right? That 30 minutes, I'm asking him questions. Those questions that I'm asking him are what I call long tail keywords. Like for instance, clean out my garage in Haltom City, Texas, right? That's what we call long tail keyword. So I'll ask him questions that are specific to the industry, and those answers become maybe 2.5 minute answers, but it's an expert answer. So I'll take that 2.5 minute. Well, first of all, I'll take the whole clip, 30-minute clip from start to finish. I'll put that on his website, and I'll also take the transcript and I'll rewrite the transcript. And it'll be a blog post, right? 30-minute blog post, super long blog post. And then I'll take all of the sub clips that are 2.5 minutes. I'll put those also on the website. And so those become mini blog posts, and I interlink all the mini ones with a big one. Then I take all those short ones and I turn them into 60-second reels. I just go with 60-second reels. Facebook allows you to do 90 seconds, but I think shorts are still only 60 seconds. So I just keep it 60 seconds for everything. It's just easier that way.
I noticed a huge difference in Facebook Reels, by the way. Andy, I don't know if you're doing those, but the shit works.
Yeah, I tell you what, Facebook Reels are super hot, and they have been hot for probably at the least the last year, ever since they opened up the algorithm, which is great. And I'll tell you what, it's organic marketing. I try not to do paid advertising anymore for my clients unless they really need it, just because I know that this works. Because people, it's the way the algorithm works. The more videos I watch of people working out, the more the system's going to send me, right? So then the system's going to know, hey, you know what? This guy likes this kind of thing. I'm going to send him supplement ads. And so, or I'm going to get interested in the guy who's giving away value, and I'm going to start following him. And then eventually maybe I'll do business with him. And so, I'm sure you guys heard of Gary Vaynerchuk's jab, 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 right hook mentality. Yep. Right. So that's, you want to do the same thing. I think I heard Alex Hormozy talk about this, like every 4 or 5 times of value giving is a call to action. kind of like if you're looking at the Facebook feed, every fifth thing, or I see it 4 or 5. Every 4 or 5th thing is an ad. 5th post is an ad. It's the same thing with
the longer
TV.
you stay on the longer I've noticed on Facebook, the longer you stay on Facebook, after like 10 minutes of scrolling, like every other one's an ad.
Yep.
Right. Or, the longer you spend on, it's, the algorithm is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The longer you spend on one specific thing,
right?
The more they'll show that same thing to you. But anyways, so yeah, video is super important. And I tell you what, it is. And I'll go a step further with all that video content, and I'll create, tweets and posts of just text posts. And as long as you have a system that is constantly posting stuff that is going to be relevant for your audience, you can't not win. You're just doing the right thing. So what I might suggest, dovetailing that again, is just like anything else. People say, marketing should be anywhere from 5 to 15% of your budget, or even 20% based on where you are. So this should be the same. What you're doing with your business, you should have that same mentality. You know what? It's that time. I need to upload a photo to Google. I upload a video to view. I need to post a video. One thing I do I'll suggest for videos is those FAQs. Man, I would every one of those should be a video. Just stick your camera upright and just hit play and record, and just record them all, batch record them. And if you batch them, you can just edit them later in Descript. There's all kinds of apps that allow you to edit, or you can just pay a kid on Fiverr to do it. I'm serious. I do video production for a living, and it's, if you can't do, what's that guy's, the big leap, you do that one thing that you can do, and delegate the rest. And so, anyways, I digress, but video is super important, and it really should be, today, it should be a part of your business. When
you're talking to clients you sit down with for 30 minutes a month, you ask them questions. Is it industry questions? Life? It's just everything. You never run out of questions to ask?
No. I have a chiropractor. I could run out of questions, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I could ask it the same question in a different way and get a different response. So I have one client who is a very, he does soil treatment. He does chemical injection to treat the soil to keep your foundation and streets and roads from cracking. And so that's a very, there's probably only maybe 100 people in the country who do that. I'm guessing, I really don't know, but I could get him to talk about anything, and I could get employees to talk about anything. And so, that's just what I do. But on the grassroots level, people like 3 things in video. And I think I just did a video about this the other day. People, products, processes, right? Go grab one of your guys, interview him, and literally off camera, you have him look at you, you point the camera at him, so he's looking at you. And you ask him, what's your favorite part about working here? What's the thing you hate about working here? Who are the people you hate about working here? Even if it's funny, that's, people. And products is anything. What do you do? What do you sell? Explain, like for a landscape designer, anything. You guys could explain anything. Mattress. You go up to a mattress and talk about why you do what you do with these mattresses. And that whole process, and you can go on for 10 minutes just talking about mattresses, right? Because that whole process is pretty cool. And then the process, that's really, really cool. That's what people love. People love to see from beginning to end, the story. They love to see things buttoned up. That's why you can't take a kid away from a cartoon in the middle of it, right? So when you I'm just thinking of a process we did. I know, we did one for Casey a long time ago. We did a garage clean out. I put a GoPro in front of the garage. There's lots of crap in the garage, and I just recorded the whole thing, and sped it up, and over a course of a minute, right, it was empty. And so people love that. They'll watch it. How many times you watched a dumb cooking video just because you want to see the end product? And so people love processes, and they love somebody to explain the process too.
Yeah.
So,
and now with the voice overlay, I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say too easy, but it's almost too damn easy, because you can make a video. I did this with my wife's business. I mean, I would make her reels while we're at a shoot, and by the time we were done with that shoot, she had like 500 views. And next thing you know, it, people will be like, "Hey, I'm going to your website, or I have a question about a shoot, blah blah blah." And the cool thing is because they're seeing where she's at, what she's doing, and who she's doing it with, right? And now they want to be included. Now they want to say, "Hey, I want to be included in this badass luxury house or whatever." So I definitely think it's definitely business friendly now. Obviously, you can't profile to the point where you used to be able to. That's what I liked when it came to hiring.
Yeah. You know, the other thought too, I was just talking to somebody else about this, just in marketing in general, when you said profile. A lot of times what I have my clients do is I'll have them create an avatar for their customer, or 3 avatars, because you have sometimes different people groups, you know, and like you guys are the same way. You know, I would fall into one people group, people over 70 are another, and then young yuppies are in a different one. And so I'll have my clients actually go through and create this person. How old are they? Do they have any kids? What's important to them?
Yeah, it's just
what
basic
problems do
demographic.
they have? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you give them a name, you know, and so that helps you with respect to creating content appropriately for that demographic. You know, knowing who you're contacting, knowing who you're talking to makes a difference. You can create better content knowing who you're talking to.
Oh yeah, I mean, right. It's start with the end state, start with the end user in mind. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there. God, you know what? You're saying all the things that and I'm sitting here. I've done a lot of these things in the past, and where I struggle with that was that consistency over time piece. You know, even now, it's like we do the podcast. We're very diligent about doing the podcast. You know, we're 81 episodes in, and 81 weeks, whatever it's been, right? We have a couple in the hopper that we recorded previously, and now we are doing these live episodes every week. And I think about my junk removal, and what exactly do I need to do video wise, because I get excited about doing videos. And now I need to talk to Taylor, the producer of our podcast, because we might have another project coming here. It's a great camera crew type video. So anyways, all right. With respect to our discipline and our time, we like to keep this around an hour. So we're coming up here a little past an hour. Let's go around the horn here, do our top takeaways from today's show, because it's always good that we also recap, what stood out the most. So Casey, we will start with you. Top takeaway from today's show.
And top takeaway is your customers want to know what you're up to. They want to know who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where you're doing it too. So I think getting with someone who not just can facilitate that on the automation side, but can give you some tips on, hey, don't overdo it in this area, maybe do a little bit more in this area. And I like what he said about consistency. The reason why is because for the most part, when it comes to any small business, the consistency in marketing and being present and relevant is the key to that growth. It's the key to success, because
Right on.
Think of it like a hurricane. When a hurricane hits something, it hits a town or a city, for about 2 to 3 months, you're going to see businesses from all different states. But then they go away because they're there, they got their quick buck, and they're leaving. Well, no one likes them. They call them vultures, they call them storm chasers, whatever, because after about a couple months, FEMA comes in, blah blah blah. Well, it's the same thing in small business, because when you have a downside or a slow time, you're going to hit marketing heavy because you're desperate. Oh, I need to get jobs. But then when you start getting jobs, what do? You stop marketing, you become relevant again. Then you have to recreate or repeat that cycle over and over and over again. So yeah, I like what he said about the consistency part and just being present in your communities and in your industry.
Tim, what do you got for a top takeaway today?
Well, 2 things. One thing is, let me dovetail what you just said, is that, when I first got into the freelance industry, I was a freelance video editor, and that mentality is the same. You're either working or you're looking for work, because you can't do both if you're a solopreneur. And so you definitely have to make sure that that looking for work mentality has to be just a part of your daily mantra. And the second most important thing, I think my biggest takeaway is I just need to pay more attention to Chris Rock, I think.
As we all do. I don't, when my daughter, when my daughter's picking up on things, and I knew it was his voice. I picked up on it right away. The fact that she picked up on that, she knew the voice was nice. Something. Doesn't know the face, doesn't know the man. Here, my top takeaway is the thing I'm going to do. Google FAQs. I'm going to sit down and record a bunch of FAQs. That is a simple thing that I can do. Video, audio, AI bot, all the fucking things to put it all together to increase my Google presence and get more content out there that is very, very specific to our business, because what we do when we get product back here to our warehouse and how we recycle it is very unique to us and something that our competitors do not do, and they don't do it. So, right, it gives us the opportunity to be the only choice in town. And if they are doing it, they're just copying what I've already done. So it's, let's go with the OG, not the copycats of the world.
That's cool.
All right. Well, think about all the questions that you hear that.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Yeah. The FAQ is, I've done enough sales presentations. I've heard all the questions and now I can bang them all out. Right. They're relevant for a reason, and we haven't answered them yet. Even if the answer's on the website, it's another way to answer that same question. So, all right. Well, this has been another amazing week here on the newly minted live Trash Talk Business Podcast, your weekly, shot in the arm, tactically, strategically, maybe a little comedy when it comes to Chris Rock, your weekly opportunity to grow yourself, your business, and grow within your industry. On behalf of Casey Bubba Lawrence and our great guest, Tim Miller, I'm Andy Weins. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
Peace out.
Sweet.